What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of news to go over here, but first I want to give a quick birthday shout out to Darius. I hear you're turning 26 next week, and he's a longtime subscriber and fan of the channel, and I really appreciate that, and so I just thank you for your support, and I hope you have an awesome birthday, man. And yeah, so thank you very much for tuning in every week. I really appreciate it. But moving on to the news this week here. First up, we have the 2021 Acura TLX that was leaked out this week with these European patent drawings that were discovered by French forum World Scoop. And so it shows a car that looks a lot like the Type S concept that we saw last year, with a front end that's similar to the RDX and a really attractive look overall. This is probably not the Type S version we're seeing here though. This is probably just the regular version, but I think it still looks really great. Let me know what you think in the comments below. The initial reveal plan according to Autoblog was this was supposed to show up at the New York Auto Show in April. Of course, that didn't happen. So now we're not sure when it's going to show up. I think Autoblog is thinking it's going to be an online reveal sometime instead, but who knows when that's going to happen. But anyway, cool to at least get a good little glimpse of that design here a little bit early. Lamborghini this week has officially revealed the Huracan Evo rear-wheel drive Spyder. That is the real name of it, and it's the same rear-wheel drive version as the coupe, just with a Spyder. And so it does the same horsepower as that, convertible and coupe, where it has the 610 horsepower version of the V10 engine. And so 0 to 62 miles per hour still only takes 3.5 seconds. Top speed is 201 miles per hour still, even for the convertible one. And the dry weight is 3,326 pounds, so it's a good bit lighter thanks to not having that front axle for all-wheel drive. The top goes up and down in 17 seconds. It speeds up to 30 miles per hour, and Lamborghini's factory is already back up and running in Italy, and so they say they're going to be starting deliveries of these this summer. So that's pretty interesting. They're already up and running, and they say prices are going to be starting at $229,428. So cool to see that. For some other Italian car news, Alfa Romeo this week revealed some updates here to the Giulia and Stelvio Quadrifoglio models for the 2020 model year. I'm not sure why these aren't 2021s, considering we already have official releases about the 2020 Giulias. They're already being built and stuff. So I'm guessing this is a 21 model for everyone here in the States. Not sure. We'll have to see. But anyway, so these updates are for Europe as well. So we'll have to see how many of these changes actually come to the States here. But first, there's these new taillights on both models with this darker appearance that they have. The interiors also get a tweaked center console that has more storage, along with the new steering wheel and new upholstery choices. The new infotainment system that was previously already revealed for the 2020 models that we currently have, those now get these new performance pages, a segment where you can now show your boost, power output, and temperatures, along with other things. And that's similar to what you get on the performance pages from other FCA products, the Dodges and stuff like that. The performance is still the same on these Quadrifoglio models, but there is a new optional Akrapovic exhaust, and so that's going to be available as an option if you want to make your Quadrifoglio a little bit louder there. There's also new 21-inch wheels for the Stelvio version, and 3 new colors available, including this cool Montreal green color that is a different shade of green, but I think it looks really good. So anyway, cool to see those changes, and I'll let you guys know, what stuff actually comes here to the States once we have more info. For some additional affordable performance car news, but also stuff that's meant for Europe, there's going to be 2 new options for affordable hot hatches here in Europe pretty soon. First, Ford has teased the Puma ST that'll be on sale before the end of the year there, and it'll likely run the new Fiesta ST's 1.5-liter 3-cylinder turbo engine that they have over there in Europe, and that does about 200 horsepower, so expect about the same for the Puma. It would be really cool though if Ford brought both the Puma and the Puma ST here to the States, because technically it's a crossover, even though that's really a stretch of that term, I think, for the Puma. But that's what they label it as, so potentially that Ford could bring it over here and not be backtracking on their claims of not having any kind of crossovers. But I think the EcoSport, is kind of underwhelming. I haven't driven one, but just from what I've seen and stuff, they just don't seem that impressive. And I think this Puma is a good bit nicer and still gives you the Fiesta type affordability, and could give you the ST model and all that kind of stuff. stuff, and it would be an ST model that would actually handle, pretty well and not be a big, huge SUV and stuff. So, I think that would be cool for them to bring it over here, but we'll have to see. I think, they originally said, oh, it's only for Europe because it's too small, but the EcoSport's the same size, and they sell that here. I think the Puma is much nicer than the EcoSport on the inside and stuff, so I think this would do a lot better than the EcoSport, but I don't know. But anyway, for those of you in Europe, that should be coming before the end of this year, though. Also, Hyundai has teased the new i20N that's going to be coming, and so Europe already has the i30N, which is our Elantra GT here. We just don't get the N version because we get the Veloster N instead. But anyway, so there's no details given with these teaser shots, but Autocar is speculating that this i20N is going to be, obviously smaller based on the i20, and it'll be running a version of the 1.6 liter turbo 4 is their guess. Now, this will be interesting to see just how slow they make N models, even though this is the tiniest one. They're only going to do the normal 195 horsepower that you usually get with that 1.6 liter turbo motor, or will they boost it beyond that since it is an N model and should be a little more special than just a standard port over motor from, what you get in the other stuff. So we'll have to see on that. But interesting that they are doing this, and obviously we're not going to be getting this in the States because we don't get the i20 here or any version, similar to it. But I believe the Venue is based on the i20 platform, and there's been rumors about the Venue getting an N model, and so this could potentially, whatever they end up using in this could end up going into a Venue N, I'm guessing. We'll have to wait and see about that, but anyway, cool to see this i20N for those of you in Europe. Also, some other Hyundai news here. We have the Santa Cruz pickup truck body has been leaked out by a reader of Motor One who sent them the picture, and shows the angled C-pillar here as well as these creases in the doors similar to that of the new Elantra. And everything else, though, remains a mystery, of course. All that we've heard is it's probably going to be on the Santa Fe platform and probably use the same engines as the Hyundai Santa Fe. And, it's going to be it's a unibody truck, of course. It's going to be for people who just need to haul large things, not heavy things, and can kind of compete with the Ridgeline and stuff like that. So interesting to see that. Supposedly it's going to be going on sale sometime next year. So obviously they got the body all ready to go here, so shouldn't be too much longer of a wait. And the Kia Stinger is due for a refresh soon. There's been lots of speculation back and forth about, what's going to happen with the Stinger and stuff, and even if it's going to continue production after this refresh. But anyway, the newest news here is about the engines. So there's been mixed reports. Some outlets are claiming it's going to still stick with the same engines as the current Stinger and just have maybe a slight power bump for each of the engines. Others claim it's going to get the new Genesis motors, which are the 2.5 liter motor, and then the 3.5 liter motor to replace the 2 liter and the 3.3. And so, it's still hard to say 100%, but the Korean car blog got a sticker this week that was on I guess some prototypes of the refresh Stinger, and one of them shows a 2.5 T designation. Now, I'm not sure the validity of all this stuff, but if this actually is on a, Kia prototype and it is totally legit, then this would suggest we will be getting new motors in the Stinger, despite what all the other reports are claiming. So hopefully we'll have some info soon. There was reports that we were supposed to see this refresh by July. Hopefully it comes by then, or, isn't too delayed by the whole pandemic and stuff. But anyway, if that is the case, then that would usually mean that it would probably get the same transmission that all the other cars that are running this 2.5 liter motor get, which is the new 8-speed dual clutch automatic transmission, which would be a nice upgrade there for that base Stinger. And, it'd be doing about 300 horsepower out of that motor, which would be a nice upgrade over the 250 you get currently in the base Stinger. And then the 3.5 liter motor from the Genesis products, that does 375 horsepower. So putting that in the Stinger GT would give you a nice bump over, the 365 horsepower I believe you get now currently in those. So a little bit of a bump for those two, and gives you a little bit more separation there. So we'll have to see what happens with that, but if you're curious to see the new Spy photos, I will link them in the description below. It also includes, you can see that there's going to be quilted seats that you're going to be able to get on the higher versions of the Stinger for this new version, and also they're going to have the 10.25-inch widescreen display up top and a few other nice little additions to it. So hopefully we see all the official stuff on that in the not-too-distant future. Mopar Insiders this week has a couple of stories. The first is a new report about the 2021 Durango. And so in addition to confirming that the Hellcat version that we've, Dodge has teased and we've, heard about for a while now, they have confirmed that is coming next year. But their sources within FCA claim that the other Durango engines will be getting adjustments for next year as well. So first, the base V6 version is now going to be coming with e-torque as standard, which makes sense because that's something they're kind of doing with, the base version of the Ram and stuff. So totally understandable. And then the 5.7 liter V8 in the RT version will also get an e-torque option. Again, just like how in the Ram it's an option. Totally makes sense. Again, they say the 6.4 liter V8 engine in the regular SRT version will continue on. I don't think that'll get an e-torque version, or they didn't mention it. But the last thing the report did add was that the launches of the Durango and the new 3-row Grand Cherokee that was supposedly coming this year, they have been delayed 3 months due to the pandemic. So I'm not sure exactly when they'll be showing up, but at least we know it'll be probably 3 months from now at the earliest, probably later than that. But anyway, interesting to see that. Other FCA news, though, from our Mopar Insiders is a report here that the Wrangler is going to be getting a Mojave trim for the 2021 model year. And this isn't much of a stretch and very easy to believe, considering, FCA is really good about spreading out these new trims and stuff to all their models. And so their sources claim it'll get the same improvements as the Gladiator Mojave got, like the Fox shocks and the other equipment to earn the new desert rated badge that they have on the Mojaves. Unlike the Gladiator version, though, their report is claiming that the Wrangler Mojave will be running the 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder engine instead of the V6 that the Gladiator runs. And so it would still be available with a manual or an automatic, which is an interesting thing because this would be the first time that Jeep has offered the manual transmission with that 4-cylinder. If this turns out to be true. And so on the manual versions, it'll be getting an electric stop-start system, but the automatic versions, they say is going to have the e-torque system like it does in the other 4-cylinder Wranglers. And so that makes sense there. They say the reveal should happen sometime later this year, and so that makes me think LA in November is probably the likely choice, but it could be something online or something elsewhere as well. But anyway, interesting to see that. And if you're curious to hear more about the Mojave, I'll actually be getting one as a press vehicle in a few weeks here, the Gladiator Mojave, and I'll be experiencing that and posting some videos on that for you guys. But anyway, other news here, Audi has made some improvements to the A4 and the A5 Sportback for the 2021 model year. For 2020, it already got that little refresh. It was only a few months ago, it seemed. But the 21s bring some mechanical improvements here. So first, they all get 13 more horsepower with the base 40 trims doing 201 horsepower, and then the 45 version doing 261 horsepower. So they're all moving to these new badging schemes, with the numerical designations instead of the 2.0 Ts and the different trim levels. Now it's 40 and 45. And so anyway, 261 horsepower though for that top 4-cylinder before you go up to the S4, and so that's cool. They both are running that 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder though still, and they now all have all-wheel drive as standard on the A4 and the A5 Sportback. There's also a 12-volt mild hybrid system for enhanced stop-start, but it's not quite as advanced as the 48-volt mild hybrid system that you get in other Audis. The base price of the A4 does go up by about $1,700. The A5 doesn't go up really as much. And there's also lots of other small little enhancements that they're introducing for the 21 model year, including the toll transponder, which is going to be, you can link it to your card and you don't have to use an Easy Pass type thing anymore. You can now just use the Audi built-in thing for paying tolls and stuff, which is cool. And there's a lot of other stuff, and it goes for every single Audi model. Everything in the lineup is getting adjusted packages and stuff. So I will include the press release in the description below if you're curious, if you're really wanting to know about all those changes for Audis. It's all minor stuff. This was the biggest thing, but anyway, interesting to hear that. Volvo announced this past week that they'll be installing the Luminar LIDAR sensors in their next generation vehicles, starting with the new 2022 Volvo XC90. It'll be an option and will enable their Highway Pilot system, which is their new autonomous system that will eventually be fully autonomous for highway driving only, at least for now. And this is going to be once the software is ready. So they're going to install the hardware starting next year in the 2022 models, but then it won't be unlocked and you won't have it until the software is actually ready. So it's going to be something you kind of future-proof yourself a little bit. I'm not sure how much longer after these first models arrive before the software will be ready, but hopefully it won't be too much longer. But, Volvo's taking their time and they want to do this very safely, so they're not going to rush it. And so anyway, they say they'll update the car over the air LIDAR, and it'll be slowly rolled out whenever Volvo verifies it's safe for individual geographic locations and conditions. So, being very choosy about what highways they approve it for and all that kind of stuff. And they're even going further than Cadillac Super Cruise system, though, because they say that not only can you take your hands off the wheel, but you'll be able to take your eyes off the road as well. And they say that the car will assume responsibility for the driving. I don't know if that means legal responsibility or just that it's taking over. But regardless, that's a big step. And, it's something that I trust Volvo that, they're doing this slowly and smartly. They're not just rushing it out. Tesla this past week has also claimed that by the end of this year, you'll be able to do most of your work commute autonomously in your Tesla if you have the full self-driving thing. That I'm a little more hesitant of because they're not using LiDAR. It's just camera-based stuff, and we know that Teslas can be problematic, as we've seen with many of the fatal crashes that they have. So, I'm a little more hesitant about Tesla, and I think Volvo's being a little slower, but I think that, once they do get to that point where it's safe, they'll start unlocking it. But again, it's only for highway stuff, even with a Volvo. And they didn't have any kind of pricing for what it would cost for this extra option. It probably won't be cheap, but then again, it is very advanced, technology. But anyway, the sensors are going to be installed in production cars this year, but Volvo hasn't given a time frame, for after, the 2022 models arrive, if that's going to be something that, comes quickly or not. And so they said everything's on this next generation architecture. So the XC90, the next gen version coming next year, that will be the first to, have that enabled. And then I guess from there, they'll probably work on the XC60 and all the other models will follow suit here in the later 2020s. So interesting to see that and looking forward to hearing more about that next year. And we got a little more info this week on the unreleased 2021 Nissan Rogue that leaked out a couple of weeks ago. So Cars Direct managed to get the power and fuel economy numbers here for the Rogue, and this was leaked out from a document that was meant for fleet customers. Hopefully this is accurate, but it is like an early document, so we'll have to wait and see if this is 100% correct. But anyway, it shows that the Rogue's going to have 180 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque, which is only 10 more horsepower than the current Rogue and only 9 more pound-feet of torque, meaning it's likely just using a improved version of the current engine, which is a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder that those run. And so if this is accurate, though, it means the new Rogue is going to be the least powerful SUV in its segment. Even the Forester has a little bit more horsepower and everything else is a good bit more powerful. And so, we're not talking about huge amounts of power, we're talking about 10, 20 horsepower, but still means it's not as going to be as powerful. But the fuel economy does go up by 1 mpg to 30 miles per gallon for the combined rating for a front-wheel drive version, which does mean it's right at the top of the class, right alongside the CR-V and RAV4 that also get the 30 mpg combined number. And so that's for the regular gas versions, though. We now have the CR-V hybrid and the RAV4 hybrid, which do much better fuel economy as well. But anyway, not sure when that reveal is going to happen for that Rogue. That was another vehicle that's supposed to show up at the New York Auto Show and hasn't, so when it's going to arrive, is anyone's guess. But anyway, interesting to hear that. We have a little bit of unfortunate news this week for BMW fans. Both BMW Blog and German magazine Manager Magazine are claiming that the next-gen BMW i8 has been canceled completely. And so Manager Magazine's sources said the board decided not to build it and that it wouldn't make sense in a post-corona world. So BMW blog sources agreed, saying it has been canceled for a while now, though, suggesting that it wasn't just the pandemic that had killed it off. It's just, a vehicle that's very expensive. And I think BMW is starting to feel the pressure of, trying to keep up as far as all the electric stuff goes, with Mercedes working on all their EQ stuff. BMW obviously has their iNext and all that other stuff that they're working on as well. But I think, they might be a little bit behind the ball with electric development compared to some other companies. So I think they're probably going to try and focus on that. And so doing some fun supercar thing, which is, crazy powerful and stuff, is probably just something that they can't invest in right now. And that makes sense. And maybe it'll mean that the current i8 will hold on to its value a little bit better, since it might be the one and only generation of the i8, which is kind of a bummer. But also, especially since that M Next concept looks so cool, it would have been great to see a new i8. But oh well. interesting to hear that. That isn't official, so hopefully they're wrong, but it sounds like something that would make sense. The last story this week, though, and some other electrified sports car news here. Tesla, actually Elon Musk revealed on the Joe Rogan podcast that the new Roadster won't be built as soon as expected. So originally, there was talks that could be ready by the end of this year or something, and this was a couple years back whenever they first revealed the Roadster in its prototype form. But anyway, Musk said that they needed to ramp up Model Y production, build a new factory in Berlin, and start making Cybertrucks all before they would work on the Roadster. And he said the Roadster is kind of like dessert, and that all the other stuff is kind of the meat and potatoes and veggies you need first for the company to be profitable and sustainable, and then they'll work on the Roadster. So that means it's unlikely to arrive anytime before 2022, because I think the first Cybertrucks are going to start coming out sometime around the end of 2021. So in that case, yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a wait for the new Roadster. So interesting to hear that. But yes, that's it for all the news this week, guys. So I hope you guys are all continuing to stay safe and healthy. I hope you continue to be well. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.